the ruh, your spirit, which is what gives you life, this never dies. This is our belief. Your spirit will never die. All human beings are created to live for eternity. We all have beginnings. We are created from nothing, and our beginnings are a long time before this world. But God willed when He created you, because you're very special, that you will never die. And you will see the effect of your actions. And we will either inherit the garden, may we all inherit the garden together, and may none of us lag behind. And if we don't inherit that, you inherit the fire.
We were there it's called Alamul Arwah. This is our first life. This is where I was, this is where you were.
The first life is the time of the spirit alone. And we were in bodies too, but they were tiny little bodies. And we were like little pieces of light. And we went around the throne of Allah for eons and eons, for eons and eons. And this is where your identity is rooted. Your identity is rooted in that world.
In fact, the Prophet ﷺ has told us that in this world, when you actually see someone and you kind of recognize them, but you don't know where you saw them, and you look at them and you think, I've seen you somewhere, I've seen you somewhere. You can't actually pinpoint where, and you haven't actually ever seen them on this earth. Our Prophet ﷺ has alluded that it could be that we saw them as a soul in Alam al-Arwah.
All of Adam's progeny, every human being that would ever exist, was brought forth on a plane in this pre-worldly stage.
And then He said to them, He manifested Himself to them, Alastu bi Rabbikum, am I not your Lord?
And those souls replied in the affirmative, Bala shahidna, indeed you are our Lord, and we testify to that truth. Now this truth is buried in the soul.
We all knew Allah, every one of us.
Then Allah turned around to us and said, I'm saying this to you today, lest one of you says to me on the day of judgment that I wasn't aware of this. Allah, I wasn't aware of all of this. Or perhaps you will come to me on the day of judgment and you will say, it was my parents' fault. Allah, it was my parents' fault. They were misguided and therefore I was misguided. Allah said already, don't bring me these excuses for the day of judgment.
One other event that we know of, which is another contract was made with the prophets, that they would all tell their peoples of the last prophet.
And then Allah brings Adam a.s. down to the earth and Hawa down to the earth, and now they're going to have children. So as they have the first set of children, Allah picks two souls up, whichever two souls He took, and you are going into the fetus of Hawa. You are going into the fetus of Hawa, and you are now going to become the soul that is encaged in this body till I release you. And your mission is that when you go to that body, you are to carry on seeing me as your provider. One by one we're leaving, and we didn't want to leave. This was a comfortable world. We only knew Allah Azza wa Jal, and we were so comfortable, and we loved this place. We only knew Allah, and we didn't want to leave. And then when it comes a time that my name is called out. Okay, I did not know these two souls before. I did not know these two souls before. 3 sets of 40 days have gone by. And this is a hadith in Bukhari, where Allah Azza wa Jalla has chose you to go into that fetus. And He said, you're going to become the one that will be encaged in this body until I release you. And this woman is going to be the mother, and this person is going to be your father. This is a connection Allah built. And anyone else who shared that womb before you or after you becomes your brother or your sister, and that's it.
Now, from this pre-worldly realm, there is a downward descent. From this divine presence, the human being descends into the womb after 120 days.
We come into this world, and we come into this world through the wombs of our blessed mothers. If the next world is the world of the tomb, this is the world of the womb.
And imagine when I was in the womb and when you were in the womb. Imagine we're there now in a new world. We did not want to go. The angel comes according to Hadith of Bukhari, and the angel blows the soul inside the whole body like you would inflate a tire.
You are but a lump of flesh in the womb of your mother, and that Allah sends this angel to you, and the angel blows life into you at 120 days. And the angel says, "Oh my Lord, what is his sustenance? Oh my Lord, what are his deeds? Oh my Lord, what is his date of death? And oh my Lord, is he amongst the blessed or the wretched?"
At 120 days, this soul that was in the divine presence enters into the womb of its mother and begins to experience. This is like a barzakh.
I see redness, you saw redness. And the fetus that's inside there only knows that it's just there, lying there. That's it. Movement is made, whatever, but it doesn't have to do anything. It's fed automatically through a tube that goes straight into its stomach.
Every death, out of these 5 stages, there is a death and a birth. So as you leave one realm and die from that realm, you're born into another realm. So we are dying and being born into these realms. And during this time, it's believed to be important for the woman to be in a good spiritual state.
Now, tell me this here. Let me ask you a question. If at that moment when the baby is growing, imagine there's 2 twins, and there's a believing twin and there's an unbelieving twin for what's going to happen in the next world. And the believing twin says to its counterpart, it says, "Hey, me and you, we're going to be coming out here one day and we're going to go to another world." And the other one says, "What are you talking about? This is it. When we come out, there'll be light, there'll be color, there'll be texture, there'll be people, there'll be language, there'll be cars, there'll be, phones, there'll be people who are busy, there'll be communication, there'll be buildings." Listen, I don't know anything about this. Have you ever seen that yourself? No, I haven't. Have you ever seen anyone come back from that world you're talking about to this place where me and you are, and to tell us that all of this is going to, this happened and they saw it firsthand and they came back? No, I haven't. Well, you, my brother, you are starting to lose it. And the disbeliever is denying all his evidences on what? On not seeing anything, on not having the experience, on not seeing anybody else come back and give them information, and it's all down to that. But we know both of those have to leave the womb.
You come out into this world, and as you open your eyes to this world, the first thing that happens is a shaitan pokes at you and says that you and I are going to have a long time together, and that I will lead you astray. The angels fade into the background, and you live this crazy life that proceeds so rapidly that even if you live 70, 80 years, it's like the blink of an eye. The devil tries to tempt you to evil, and the angels try to call you to good.
To come into this world through the womb of our mothers. And here we are for a very short time, because it's a very hard test, and most people can't take it for long. And some people are here for just a day. Some people here just for a few years. Okay, death is a big thing. Death is a big thing, right? It's a shocking thing. And it's like I could see that nobody is happy here. No one is content here. No one wants to face this. And of course, they've got all kinds of concerns. Death not being the only one.
And that's why dunya means the lowest world. It is the lowest. We are in the lowest world in this hierarchy of worlds. And the reason for this is that there are 2 important things that every human being should know about the dunya. The first is the wa'ad, and the second is the wa'id. The wa'ad is the promise that you will go back to the divine presence from whence you came. This is a promise. The promise is the garden. But the garden has a key. The garden is not earned, but it's also not given without struggle or effort. The wa'id is the warning that if you do not maintain your pre-worldly contract, which is that you testified to the truth of the lordship of your Creator, that you're in trouble. You're in trouble.
The third world is this dunya. This is our third life. Guys, wake up. There are Muslims who are weak in their faith. And there are Muslims, because of the interaction in this world, they have kind of lost their compass. There are Muslims who are now doubting the afterlife.
People are watching these images projected from lights, flickering on their TV screens and in their movie theaters, and they're illusions. And there's this whole other real world out there. And there are people now that are preferring this world of illusion, this vicarious world, this virtual reality, to a whole other world.
I did fear death, and I also feared existence, because I didn't feel that I was right with it. And when I was reading the autobiography of Malcolm X, he said, Islam is a religion that removes fear. And that hooked me. I read the book all night, but that's what hooked me. Because it's like, is that possible? Is it possible for me to live without fear of death?
And then as you get older and you find yourself in the same state of vulnerability that you came into this world, you look out and you see these angels coming down from the heavens with your shroud, and they call you back. And they say, come out to the pleasure of your Lord. Come out to His forgiveness. Come out to His mercy. We were with you through this entire journey, and we will carry you throughout.
And that's it. Now it's the fourth world. What is it? It's barzakh, at the time of death.
And the barzakh is the intermediary world, the interface. And there, most people are there for a long time. We're here for a short time. Even if you lived 1,000 years, that's a short time. In the barzakh, you'll be there for a long time. And the barzakh is very real. It is more real than this world. And there people are rewarded and punished. And people have different realities there.
At this point, the grave either becomes a very wide and expansive, or it becomes dark and constricted, based on what people did in this life. There's a hadith also that indicates every human being will have an initial constriction. The grave will literally constrict them to where they think they're going to burst, their soul. And then it will become either easy or difficult. And there's a prophetic tradition of Jesus, the son of Mary. They were looking at a man who was being buried, and all the companions said, it's so constricted and narrow. And Jesus says to them, you don't remember the wombs of your mothers that expanded for you.
They take your soul from the body. You go to the grave, and your questioners are two angels.
If I'm a good soul, I go to Illiyin. If I'm a bad soul, I go to Sijjin. Both mentioned in Surah Mutaffifin of the Quran. And what happens is a person, when they make this journey, my friends, our Prophet ﷺ has told us how the news reaches the gates of Illiyin, of whoever is coming from this earth. And they there in Illiyin are always saying to the angels, who's coming, who's coming, who's coming? His mom that went before, maybe his granddad and his great-grandfather and his uncles, and as they come rushing forward, is any family members, they'll come rushing forward to the entrance of the gate. They want to receive their child, their grandchild. And when he enters, he now realizes, if he's a good soul only, if he's only a good soul, this happens. He now realizes that he's got a whole family out here.
Now, everybody who has died before us is in this realm, with the exception of the martyrs. The martyrs do not go into this realm. They go directly to the divine presence.
So anyway, this is the fourth world. What happens in the fourth world? Well, guess what? You get comfortable again if you're in Illiyin. You get comfortable, you're with your family, the families that went before you, and now you're waiting for others to come from the world. And what happens is, in this fourth life, if you ask anyone, do you want to leave this world? The answer will be what, guys? No. Just as you did not want to leave Alamul Arwah, the first world, you did not want to leave the mother's womb, the second world, you did not want to leave the third world, the dunya, the same will happen. Nobody will want to leave Illiyin if they're in Illiyin. What happens after that?
And then we are born into the world again with the resurrection.
At a certain point, there are two trumpets. The first blast is what's called the hour, the sa'ah, the moment. It literally means the moment, the great moment when the world comes to an end.
Where does the resurrection begin of your body? Maybe some of us, our bodies will be intact because we hope we'll be saints. But if the body is not intact, where does the recreation of the body begin? You were recreated from the sacrum, from the coccyx and the sacrum. And then we come back into this world for the fourth life. The fourth life is the judgment, and the judgment is the most difficult thing of all.
Now, at the point of resurrection, all of the souls are brought to a plane. And that's what Arafah is, a preparation for that. They're all brought to the plane, and then everybody is naked, and they stand. This is where they wait for what's called the hisab, the reckoning. And according to the tradition, it says the waiting is 500 years.
No mountains, no valleys, no trees, no pyramids, no telephone poles, nothing. It's all flattened.
Every single human being, every jinn, every creation, every animal, every dinosaur, every single insect that Allah had created, all coming up on the Day of Judgment. Allah will make every living creature come on the Day of Judgment, and Allah will make all of them come together on one platform, one piece. Now this time, there are things that are different. Why?
All the waters of the earth are made one ocean, and it's on fire, right? And then the people are brought forth. And of course, the believers are brought forth in beautiful form. But they're also in great fear, because that is the day of the wrath of God.
All of the souls, some are shaded by their actions, and others are literally up in sweat, drowning in their own sweat, because it's so intense. People are going in and out like waves, in and out. There's a lot of confusion, there's a lot of, it's actually, the descriptions are terrifying. And then what happens is people say, let's go ask the prophets to get us out of this. And the tradition says they go to Adam, the first man, and they say, help us, intercede for us. And he says, nafsi, nafsi, my own soul, my own soul.
A mom does not see her daughter as her daughter. A brother does not see his own brother as his brother. And a wife does not see her husband as a husband, and a husband doesn't see a wife as a wife. This is the day when Allah has created, where we're back again with thinking of us as souls. We have no connection with one another. That's why we don't help one another. We don't want to see one another. In fact, we'll run away from one another. The Quran says, يَوْمَ يَفِرُّ الْمَرْءُ مِنْ أَخِيهِ, the day when a man will run away from his own brother. Why? Because he's going to ask me for help.
And then you have the disbelievers and the hypocrites and so forth. And this is the most difficult time of all. And this is where ash-shafa'atul kubra comes in, the great intercession.
What happens is they go to each of the prophets. They go to Noah, they go to Abraham, they go to Moses. Each one of them says, nafsi, nafsi. And they give a reason that relates to stories that are mentioned in the Quran. And finally, all of humanity goes to the Prophet Muhammad. All of humanity, the Muslims, the Buddhists, the Hindus, everyone goes to the Prophet Muhammad. And that's why in the Quran he is called a mercy to all the worlds. Because on this day, when they go to him, he is uniquely the one who says, Ana laha, this is my place. And he takes the intercession. And it's said that he enters into the divine presence, prostrates, praises, and then it's said to him, raise your head, ask and you will be given, intercede and you will have intercession. And he asks for the judgment.
Then Allah Azza wa Jal transfers us. What happens? Any person who goes to Jannah If you go to Jahannam, you get a different body. If you go to Jannah, you get a different body. So it's a new life. If a person goes to Jahannam, Allah will make the body grow big so that the punishment can be felt a lot more. May Allah forgive us and may Allah save us. Say Ameen.
So at this point then, at the hisab, which is the reckoning, and this is why there's a hadith that says, reckon yourselves before you're taken to account. In other words, if you do your work in this world, you don't have to deal with it in the next world. And then what happens is there is a record on this day of everything, your entire life. And according to Imam al-Awza'i, people will watch their lives in front of them like a film. They'll literally watch their entire life. And there's a hadith that God will veil people who ask for His veiling, because having to see your life, at each stage there will be testimony against you. The hands, according to the Quran, testify. The feet testify. They asked him, how will they speak? And he said, the one who gave them, who made your tongue speak will make your hands speak. And the genitals testify, the tongue testifies, because all of them are afraid. The body is saying, we don't want, they know what's coming, and they're afraid, and so they're all owning up. And they're saying, He made us do this. And then what happens is, there's what's called a sahifa, which is the book of your life. Your actions are weighed in scale.
And you shall be asked and questioned. Every single one of you shall stand before Allah Azza wa Jalla. No one in between.
For any man or woman is either Jahannam or it's Jannah.
And whomever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wishes will be dragged in through those thorns.
It's either the fire or it's the garden.
I want to be in the company of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
It's either going to be punishment or it's delight.
That they will be in darkness before the bridge. Everyone amongst you shall cross over it.
And Ahmed said, Ummati, Ummati, my community, my community. And God replied, we will grant you until you are content.
And then you enter into paradise, where angels enter upon you perpetually, saying, peace be unto you for the patience that you have.
Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he'll stand up and say, Ya Rab, Ummati, Ummati, oh Allah, my nation, my nation. Oh Muhammad, we will take out of the hellfire anyone from your nation that had iman equal to a seed of wheat. And then again he'll say, Ya Rab, my nation, because of you and for you, we will take out of the hellfire from your nation anyone who had iman equal to the weight of an atom. Oh Allah, my nation. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say to Muhammad, oh Muhammad, because of you, we will take out of the hellfire anyone that had ever said, La ilaha illallah.